And good morning from our Edinburgh studio. You're tuned in to All In with Ali this week. Welcome one, welcome all. We got hope you guys are having a great week here at UTRGV. It's a little cold this weekend, but well, we made it through. Hope you guys are having a great week, better week than the San Antonio Spurs are having this week. I mean, things have just gone completely upside down if you're San Antonio within the last week or so. First of all, Wemby out for the season with deep vein thrombosis in his right shoulder. Very unfortunate injury, but the Spurs glad they caught it early before it became an issue. He's going to be sidelined for the rest of the year, and to lose a generational player like that for the season, it's already bad enough. And then Coach Pop has announced he's not going to be returning this season. He might make a run next year, but whatever Coach Pop decides will have to be in the best interest of his health. And then, so a lot of losses for the rest of the season if you're the San Antonio Spurs. No Wemby, no Coach Pop. Then last night they end up blowing a huge lead to the New Orleans Pelicans. They were up big, and then they end up losing that game. And then following that game, as if this keeps snowballing, following that game, De'Aaron Fox hinted at he's probably going to get that thumb surgery, because if you remember, he broke his thumb earlier in the year. This was when before he was traded to San Antonio. He's been playing through it. And if I'm De'Aaron Fox, I'd go ahead and get it and get the surgery, because, well, there's almost no chance to compete for a play-in spot, especially without Victor Wembanyama. So you might as well rest up, get the surgery in your hand, get healthy, and make a run at next year. What does this mean, though, if you're the San Antonio Spurs? I mean, you just lost Wemby for the year. You're probably going to lose Fox for the year. And to me, this signals that I think if you're the San Antonio Spurs, you got to fully commit to the tank at this point. Because this, in all honesty, this is probably one of the best draft classes we've seen in a while. It's very deep. Especially for what you could get in the first round. It's a deep draft class. And then the Hawks also, remember, they've been on a little bit of a skid. They've lost their last 3 games. So there is a chance. There is a scenario in which this season San Antonio ends up with two top 10 picks in this draft, which would be absolutely insane. And if the Spurs go 1 overall, they could end up with Cooper Flagg, who's been absolutely incredible this year over at Duke, and will declare for the draft as a freshman if everything goes according to plan and Cooper Flagg doesn't commit another year at Duke, which it's looking more and more likely that he won't. I mean, if you're Flagg right now, your stock is as high as it's been. You could very possibly go 1 overall, so why not take a flyer? If you're going to go 1 overall this year, go for it. So the Spurs could end up with the trio, they could end up with the starting lineup consisting of Stephon Castle, who's been incredible all year, been singing his praises for God knows how long. Victor Wembanyama, who, that's all I got to say, when he's healthy and when he's performing, he's just an incredible, he's a generational talent, most hyped prospect since LeBron James, and has the potential to be the face of the league in 5 years. Yes, that's right, Stephen A. Smith. Victor Wembanyama can be the face of the league in 5 years. I don't know why we're saying he can't be, but anyway, I think he'll be the face of the league in 5 years. And then you also got an all-star point guard in De'Aaron Fox to go alongside Victor Wembanyama, and then you add a talented forward like Cooper Flagg. This could very end up being like bringing back the Twin Towers of 1999. Remember, way back when David Robinson broke his foot that season, the Spurs ended up with the first overall pick, and who did they select with that pick? Oh, just some random nobody named Tim Duncan, who's top 5 all time, you know? So it's happened before. We've seen it in the past. Injuries do happen, and that's an unfortunate reality of sports, but the Spurs could very well turn this into a situation where they could very possibly benefit a great deal from it. And then if they end up with 2 top 10 picks, it would be insane if they were to just get at least 1. But if the Hawks pick turns into a top 10 pick, which is looking very, very likely that it will be, they could select Cooper. They could select Cooper Flagg. They could select Cooper Flagg if they end up with 1 overall, and with another, they could end up very easily with one of the many other very talented forwards that are in this draft. Right now, according to Tankathon, Cooper Flagg is projected to be drafted first. But you could throw in a guy like Noah Asenge, who's a very talented forward. Ace Bailey, another talented small forward from Rutgers, and who's also an incredible shooter. So Spurs need some shooting and Ace Bailey's still on the board in the top 10, and you have that pick, go after a guy like that. So if the Spurs play their cards right, they could very well turn this from a negative to a positive, and that would be, of course, best case scenario if you're the San Antonio Spurs. Obviously, you don't know what's going to happen when the draft lottery comes around. You don't know what's going to happen because there's still a lot of season left to be played. But that is very, very possibly one scenario in which you get 1, if not 2, top 10 picks. You select talent that you think is going to help you out the most. You come back next year, healthy Victor Wembanyama, healthy De'Aaron Fox, and with the talent you have in the draft and the veteran presence that the Spurs they've done a good job of getting to help develop their young core. Spurs could very possibly make a run next year if everything goes right, you know? It also depends what happens at the head coaching position, because if Coach Pop returns next year, that would be the cherry on top if everything goes right, as if Coach Pop comes back. But obviously that's his decision. It's what he has to do, what's best for his health. We're hoping for the best for Coach Pop, who's one of the greatest coaches the NBA has ever seen. But if Coach Pop departs, they might have to start a head coaching search, because I'm not too sure if Mitch Johnson's going to stay long term as the Spurs head coach, given some of the questionable lineup decisions while the team was trying to compete. Who knows? They might stick around for another year of Mitch Johnson, or they might go another route. But it all depends. It all depends how the rest of the season plays out. Speaking of the season playing out, the season's almost over in NCAA men's basketball, and some interesting things have changed recently. Like, for example, Tennessee and Houston are moving up the rankings. Chaz Lanier scored 30 points, made a career high 8 3-pointers on the road against Texas A&M, who the Aggies are moving down in this. We're moving down in the rankings this week. But I think Houston, oh my God, they played some incredible basketball this year. And I mean, the Big 12 is as top heavy of a conference as there is. For Houston to be doing what they're doing, especially this year, I think Houston's going to end up making another deep run this year, and we could very easily see that team in the Final Four this season. Another team that's just shot up the ranks this week was St. John's after sweeping their season series against the defending champions. They started out as an unranked team, and now they've really put in some work this year, so props to them. We'll have more on collegiate athletics coming up after the break. Don't touch that dial. You're tuned in to Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. We'll be back after this break. Thank you, Dr. V, for closing out the break. Don't forget to tune in at noon on Fridays for the longest running show in Vaquero Radio history with our very own Dr. Velez. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Let's talk a little bit about the last week that UTRGV baseball had. Pretty great week as first off going on the road to Arlington, playing at Globe Life Field. That must have been an incredible experience if you're a student athlete to play at a major league stadium, first of all, but then not only to do that, But to go ahead and beat the number 20th ranked team in the country by as big of a margin as they did, 15-5, scoring 11 runs in the ninth inning, well, just an incredible win by the UTRGV baseball team that day. I was surprised right there, down 5. It was a pretty close game for most of it. DBU was up by 5-4 in the top of the ninth, and then an 11-run inning, taking advantage of a couple of wild pitches and hit by pitches and just all around shaky pitching from DBU, taking advantage of that, taking it to them and scoring 11 runs in that inning. Just a great win for them. And then coming back home to split the series against North Dakota State University, winning the first game of the doubleheader on Sunday, 10-3, dropping the second one 5-7. No third game because of weather forced them to play a doubleheader on a getaway day. But some takeaways, pitching and closing games. That's something that's going to have to improve as the season goes on, and I think it will. It's just the start of the season, shake off the rust and get back to it and grind out on the mound. Winning close games, that's another thing that I believe has improved and will continue to improve this year. Being able to stay with the ranked team for 8.5 innings to explode on offense in the ninth. Great job done there. And then speaking of the offense, this offense can go off. I mean, we've seen it even in the loss in game 2, 5 runs in 1 inning. We've seen what this offense can do at its best. 11 runs in an inning against Dallas Baptist. And then 10 runs overall in 7 innings in the first game of the doubleheader on Sunday. So we've seen what this offense can do day in, day out. It's just a matter of if they can find that consistency and stay there, then this team can seriously make some noise. Speaking of making noise, Southland Conference opener will be on Friday against Lamar. First game starts at 6:30. Second game of that series on Saturday again at 6:30, and the series will close out at noon on Sunday. That's enough for UTRGV baseball. We'll talk a little bit of we'll talk about the playoff round of the UEFA Champions League, its implications, and we will be discussing one game which I was particularly impressed by in that set. We'll be back after this brief break. Don't touch that dial. You're listening to All In with Ali, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. And we're back. Welcome to All In with Ali. And I was watching the other week, the UEFA Champions League, and I was just absolutely impressed by really Real, how they played, but just Mbappe, man. Mm-hmm. That was incredible performance by him. And it was a hat trick in the UCL. We had been wondering, where has he been all year? Where has he been? Real paid him all that money to bring him to Madrid, and there he was. He finally showed up. That was, I think, thus far one of his biggest moments in the Champions League. Mm-hmm. Certainly his biggest moment with Real, and to do that against City, to knock them out too, that was great. First goal, that was an incredible. I think the pass on the first goal was better, 100%. Beautiful pass to get the ball to Mbappe, and right as he had the keeper one-on-one, you knew he was going to score. I mean, you just can't leave him that much room, right?
It was good. The performance was amazing. One of the best performances I ever seen, and that's the thing. That's when people were watching where he was. He finally came in. The only thing that I want to throw in, and I know I'm putting it through your show, it's where was Haaland and De Bruyne?
Haaland and De Bruyne, they weren't. Nothing was saying that they were injured ahead of the game. They were just benched, and I don't understand why. I mean, you're going in. City was only down by one on aggregate, right? Mm-hmm. Only down 1, and your 2 best players are sitting on the bench. They didn't even see any minutes in this game, mm-hmm. which to me absolutely ridiculous. Could it be that Pep is just giving up on the season? I mean,
Looks like it.
Looks like it. I mean, he looked absolutely stressed on those sidelines there. I didn't understand first off the decision to not start Haaland and to not start De Bruyne it's the Champions League, man. It's a Champions League. You're playing the best. You're supposed to bring out your best, and that's a fireable decision if you're any other manager. It's hard to see where he ends up keeping his job, especially after as bad of a year as City have had by their standards. Where are they? Yeah, just it's been a tough year. They're fourth right now in the Premier League table. Usually, and Newcastle is 13-5-8 right behind them. So there could be a scenario where they don't even qualify for the Champions League next year if they finish fifth. If they finish fifth of the Premier League, which shocking loss to not play your best, to be eliminated by Real, and then to not make it next year. That's that kind of a run ends managers' tenures in many other clubs. We'll see what it is with City, but back to Mbappe, beautiful performance. First goal, amazing. Second goal, what a pass from Rodrigo to set that up too. Nutmegs a defender, and then Mbappe makes Guardiola miss. I mean, he just stole his ankles right there.
We watched it live. It was crazy.
I think Guardiola, he's still sitting on the ground wondering what happened after that.
And Mbappe, did you see
he pointed at him too.
That was dirty, man. That was
You knew that there was no way that Madrid wasn't going to advance after that.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It was well executed. But the Liga right now, it's in its peak. We talk about it before.
Oh yeah, it's great. I always think that especially this year, La Liga La Liga teams play better than most Premier League teams. I feel like
definitely.
Even against like bottom of the league clubs, you're always going to see a good game. You know?
Yeah.
Because La Liga teams are always technically sound.
Yes.
They've always been, and right, it is a dogfight for the top spot right now. 17-3-5 for Barca, 16-6-3 for Real. Atletico's not far behind, 15-8-2. 54, 54, 53. Just 1 point separates the top three.
Who do you think? I want to see your project. I will tell you mine if you tell me yours. Who do you think is going to win?
Real, because they're just getting hot. They're getting hot at the right time, and that's.
I think the same thing. Yeah.
When teams get hot at the right time, that's when they make great runs, and that's when they. That's how championships happen. Is just you get hot at the right time.
I want to see now Yamal with all his. I mean, it's the first season, but just to see how he mature with this new Mbappe that we saw.
Oh,
I want to see that. I want to see how everything goes. I don't know. I'm interested on that. You know.
You have to see the best versus their best, and.
Yes. And they will give it to us. They will give it like the Champions League. It's going. I think if
the Champions League ends up being Barca and Real for the final,
that's crazy.
That would be. Whew, it's a very real scenario where that could end up happening because I think both clubs are on opposite sides of the bracket this year.
Yeah,
they are. There is a scenario in which that will happen.
That will happen. Here's the thing. They're saying, and we saw it, and this is one thing that you can say to your listeners. When we talk with people, they say that usually Barca can lose to the most random, like a club. I don't think it's going to happen this season. I don't know what you think. I want to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, because last year was... who was it that knocked them out last year?
I don't remember who did, but I don't remember. But yeah. Because I don't know.
Because right now they're up against Benfica for their first round. I think they advanced there.
Yeah.
So they have a pretty decent run to the quarterfinal. Because if they win, and Dortmund's probably going to advance in there, so they end up facing Dortmund. I think they advance there, so they're at least going to end up in the quarterfinals. I think.
I think so too. Okay. So we talked about it earlier. We didn't say it on live, but who do you think is going to be passing into the next round? So, for the
we can table this because I want to talk about this next week because that's when
Okay.
that's when this happens. We can we'll kind of we'll keep you on the edge of your seats, dear listener, for our UCL projections for next week.
Honestly, I want to play. The quiniela. I don't know how to say it here. I wanna see how much you've been talking about it.
Yeah.
Now I'm interested on seeing and giving my projections because I think this Champions League seems like what teams are gonna be the best, but
We'll have to table this. We'll talk about it next week for sure. Round of 16 is going to start next week on Tuesday the 4th. Show's going to be on the 3rd, just in time for the start of the UCL. We'll be back after this brief break, but don't touch that dial. We got more for you. We'll be talking a little bit of spring training, the Four Nations tournament on this day in sports history, and other programming notes here on Vaquero Radio. Don't touch that dial. We'll be back after the break. Welcome back to All In with Ali. Let's talk about some happenings over at MLB spring training. Games are underway. Teams are already playing each other just to get some reps in. And the start of the baseball season, it's not far. It's not far from now. Well, let's start with who's starting the season. That would be the Dodgers and the Cubs. They already played their first spring training game first. First stop, hoping Bobby Miller's okay. He took a tough liner at 100, I think, was the exit velo on that. Took a liner off the head. Hopefully he's okay because the Dodgers already have great pitching, but Bobby Miller's got a lot of potential with this kind of stuff. Speaking of Dodgers pitching, Dustin May has returned from injury. Great story with him because he dealt with a lot of injury issues. He's recovering from Tommy John, and was also recovering after this in this offseason from a torn esophagus. He's back, he's ready, and he's ready to contribute as well. Had a decent outing in spring training. Glad to see him back because Dustin May is a pitcher I really like. I mean, you see him out there with the flowing hair and the beard. It's just you just know you're gonna get even if it's not the best outing, he's gonna put 110. He's got good stuff. He's always had good stuff. It was always just a matter of putting it together, and I'm hoping he can put it together this year. Season will open for the Dodgers and the Cubs ahead of opening day. I think they'll start the season about 5 days ahead of everyone else. That will be the first opening series that will take place at the Tokyo Dome in Japan. So Shohei Ohtani getting to play in front of a home crowd, similar to what the NBA did with Victor Wembanyama this year, having him play in France. It's going to be a great event. It's going to be a great way to kick off the season. Following up with the runners-up of the World Series, the New York Yankees just announced a change to their policy that they've had since the 1970s. The Yankees are abolishing the facial hair rule, meaning that Yankee players can finally grow beards. And why did they choose to announce this 10 days into big league camp right after everyone's already shaved? I don't know. But Yankees are hoping this could actually attract free agents who didn't want to sign there because of that policy. I never understood why that policy was even a thing in the first place. But anyway, but some other news from Yankees camps. Giancarlo Stanton had to fly back to New York to get some testing done. He's hopefully everything turns out well. But Giancarlo Stanton has had his injury issues, but when he's healthy, he can hit the ball. He can hit the ball far away, man. So he's a great hitter. He showed up in the postseason when it seems like a good chunk of the Yankees lineup didn't want to show up. But we're hoping all for the best for Giancarlo Stanton. On to the Houston Astros. They just started their games, started with the split squad and then played a full squad game yesterday. They were going to play a game today against the Marlins, but it got rained out. But anyway, Astros testing their pitching depth. They're trying to find their fifth starter. Astros are one of the teams that have a very interesting pitching situation because they have more than a few starters who are going to return from injury, starters that have contributed to World Series runs, such as Lance McCullers Jr., who came up huge in 2017, 24 straight curveballs in Game 7 of the ALCS to close it out, and then Christian Javier, who who threw 5 innings of a combined no-hitter in a World Series game. He's been incredible in the playoffs. Just forget about what happened in Game 7 against the Rangers. We don't talk about that game. But anyway, he's been great. He's got good stuff. I love watching Christian Javier pitch. His windup reminds me a lot of how Pedro Martinez used to deliver the baseball back in the day. And he's looking to make a return some point this year. Lance McCullers could return early in the season. So could Luis Garcia, who was also a huge contributor in both 2021 and 2022, both of those World Series runs. In 2022, 5 innings against the Mariners to close out the ALDS. In extra innings, just absolute nails out of the bullpen to help the Astros outlast the Mariners. They're going to continue, of course, with the Altuve in left field experiment. Who knows how that's going to work out? I know they picked up a backup infielder in Brendan Rodgers, so looks like they're going to commit. This is going to be something the Astros are committing to full time this year. Of course, they're saying that Altuve is going to get some time at second base, but I still can't wrap my head around the whole putting Altuve in left field experiment. This was going to be a thing whether or not Alex Bregman was going to return, and he didn't return to the Astros. He signed with the Red Sox, but they're still going to try him out, which is going to. I already said my bit about it last week, but it's going to be very interesting to see how this turns out. Hoping that it turns out well, but I don't have my hopes too high on the Altuve in left field experiment. But I mean, if he wants to do it for the team, he wanted to do this. He bought in on it, and he wants to do what's best for the team. Speaking of Alex Bregman, though, he made his debut for the Red Sox in spring training, and first at bat goes deep to left field. And it just does, to me as an Astros fan, it just doesn't look right seeing Alex Bregman in another uniform for how many years he's played for us, for winning us 2 rings, for being a contributor to playoff runs. It's going to be something that's going to take a lot of getting used to, but Alex Bregman and his new threads doing well. Now back to the Four Nations tournament. Oh, I didn't talk about this last week, but that tournament is concluded on Thursday. Last week, Canada won in the overtime in the championship game against Team USA. Connor McDavid with the final goal. I mean, that was first of all just an incredible game of hockey for all 3 periods and in overtime. A lot of scoring in the first 2 periods and just incredible defense throughout the 3rd period. Going into overtime, which overtime hockey or overtime playoff hockey is just incredible. It's tense every shift, every time the puck goes into other zone, knowing that could be what ends the game. And Connor McDavid just shows you why it was an incredible game, and to end it by what I think is the best player in the world right now in Connor McDavid. He shows you why he's the best in the world. Just absolutely clutch by him. And you just can't leave him that much room. I don't understand what the defensive coverage was towards the end of that game, but you can't leave the best player in the world that much room. He's going to make that 9 times out of 10, you know. It was also just a great tournament overall, great showing the world's best hockey players in one place in one tournament during the All-Star break. I think that was a great showing for the sport of hockey as a whole to have right after the NBA All-Star break, right after the Super Bowl, right before MLB spring training, to have that another time of the year besides the Stanley Cup playoffs when the world's attention's focused on hockey. And I think it was a great showing. This was incredibly well done for the very first year the tournament took place. A lot of interesting moments, a lot of the world's best players doing what they do and showing us why they're the world's best. The Tkachuk brothers getting to play together for Team USA. Connor McDavid walking it off in overtime to send Canada to send Canada home as champions incredible showing, great tournament, and I hope to see more of it in the next iteration of the tournament. Moving on this day in sports history in 2020, the memorial service for the late, great Kobe Bryant was held outside of the Staples Center in Los Angeles. We lost him in 2020, and that was a huge loss for the NBA and for the sports world as a whole. We'll have the program notes for the coming days here on Vaquero Radio. Tune in tomorrow at 4 p.m. for In the Know with Coleman Beck from our Edinburgh studio. If you missed today's newscast, we'll be airing it again on Vaquero Radio at 11, as well as Coffee Noise at 1 p.m. Thursday's packed programming slate as always. Library Talk at 10, RGV Community Health at 11:30, and Vaquero Insider at 1. And as mentioned earlier, Office Hour has changed hours and will be hosted at noon on Friday. So that's going to wrap it up this week on All In with Ali. We'll be talking about the UEFA Champions League next week. Plus, the NHL season is starting back up after the All-Star break. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about the NBA throughout as well, and we'll have those predictions for the round of 16 coming up for you as well. Thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Be sure to check out our other great programs here on Vaquero Radio. This has been your host Ali for All In with Ali. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope to see you guys again next week. Thank you for tuning in. This has been All In with Ali, only on Vaquero Radio, the Valley's student station. You stay classy, UTRGV. Have a great day.